And hello and welcome to Hollywood Blockbusters. I'm your host, Joe Hollywood. And once again, I am joined by Imaginos Pete,
Hey.
Andrew Walker,
Peace.
George Johnson,
Hey, Bay.
and I think we're going to refer to this guy sometime today, Mr. Burt Reynolds. I am excited about today's podcast. For those of you who may not know, I started a website around 2003 called Hollywood Diecast, and I was collecting diecast cars from films and television, famous cars that I grew up with. When I was a kid, on TV, we had the A-Team, the Dukes of Hazzard, Knight Rider. In the theater, we had, Smokey and the Bandit, Cannonball Run, all that kind of stuff. So I grew up with these cars and started collecting the diecast versions because I can't afford the big ones. And it changed my life, and I started meeting celebrities and people connected to the car world. And so it's been a really big part of my life. I've sat in many, many cars that you've seen on television and film. And I'm just really excited that today that's what we're going to be talking about. Cars in film, car chase movies.
This is not one of those drinking games I want to play with you. Joe, have you been in the in Ecto 1? Take a shot, Nick.
Oh, yeah.
The DeLorean, take another shot. Chitty
That's
chitty bang
right.
bang. Damn it.
Yeah.
Grease lightning. Damn it.
You name it, I've seen it or sat in it. And
That'd be
believe
good
it or
one.
not, after all these years of doing movie podcasts, I have never led a conversation on car chase movies, road trip movies. So that is going to be remedied today.
Right.
Now, in my opinion, there are different tiers of car movies. So
Sure.
for me, if you say car chase movie, that is a movie that has a car chase throughout a good chunk of the film. Like, what percentage of the film involves a car chase? There are amazing car chases out there in film, but they only make up a very small percent of a movie. Perfect example is the movie Bullet. Bullet is an excellent, gritty, bloody crime drama starring Steve McQueen. It features one of the greatest car chases in movie history, but the car chase, believe it or not, lasts about 10 minutes. But that's it. That's the only real car activity that takes place in the film. So a lot of times when you bring up car chase movies, people go, oh, yeah, like Bullet. Well, hold on a second. That's only 10 minutes of the movie. The rest is investigative police work. So that's something we're going to talk about today. What criteria do you have to add a car chase movie to your list or a road trip movie, that sort of stuff?
If I may,
Yes.
I would say 30% of the movie should feature car chase. I know it's a low number because otherwise, it'd just be a guy in a car, people in a car. And
There are a few of those.
And my other proposal, similar to how the Lions are making proposals to NFL rule changes, I would say if the car chase is iconic, because if I think of Bullet, I think of it's on the poster.
Yeah.
The car, McQueen's in the car and it says Bullet, that's on the poster when I go in. If I go in and I say, oh, well, then that's it.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Jaws, most of the it takes place on that last part there on the water.
Yeah. So, I know people who, when they catch Bullet on TV or pop it in on DVD, they just go right to the chase. That's the movie to them. They watch it at the start. The Mustang chases the Charger, a big explosion at the end, and they're like, all right, I've seen enough. And, okay. Wow. That's a pretty strong statement that you tune in just to see the chase. What I did, I created a top 10 list that we're going to touch on.
But one quick thought, if you don't mind, throw in this, and that is, I think a car chase, if it were to last for 50% or 70%, it would be a different kind of a thing. So if you watch Ford versus Ferrari, which I don't know if is on anybody's list, it looks like a vanity piece to me because it's just and it's this, it's road, then face, then road, then face, then road, then face.
Yeah.
And it's exciting and it's exhilarating for men, but there's precious little else going on.
Yeah.
And so it's exciting because everybody identifies with the GT40.
Yeah.
And they get excited about the Ferraris, but it's thin on real actual story, or it can be thin on real actual story. So when you have Bullet, where there's that 10 minutes, that's enough to, and of course they probably spent a ton of money shutting down all the streets and all kinds of things. It probably took way more time. 10 minutes of that probably took way more time than 15 or 20 minutes of dialogue or 30 minutes of dialogue.
Yeah.
So it's.
Yeah, choreographing that on the hilly streets of San Francisco. And, it's kind of funny when I hate to bring this up because now you're going to be looking for it, but imagine choreographing that car chase, and now you have kind of background cars and stuff that have to populate the streets. And there's one green VW bug in particular that you see over and over again. And you're like, there's the green bug again. And that makes you realize that this was choreographed and planned and not just spontaneous on the streets of San Francisco, because you see the same car over and over and over.
I mean, you wouldn't want this to be spontaneous. There'd be a lot of chaotic people like, what the hell is Steve McQueen doing? My groceries.
Well, supposedly that was the attitude on the set for The French Connection. So you have Gene Hackman. He's chasing down a bad guy who boards a New York subway train. He gets into, what is it? I have it written down here somewhere, French Connection. He's driving a 1971 Ford LTD, and he's trying to keep up with the train that's on the elevated rail there. And from what I've heard, a lot of the shocked expressions you see of the people on the curb are
genuine.
Are like, what the hell is going on here? So sometimes they don't pull all the permits that they're supposed to pull, and you see genuine fear.
But you're chasing genuine fear, but the risk is there. I mean, what was it with John Voight and Dustin Hoffman? He's
Midnight Cowboy. Yeah.
That thing with the cab was not planned.
Yeah.
Because they weren't authentic. I'm like, well, the movie could have ended right there had he gone a couple of feet more. It's like, well, Dustin's dead. John Voight's in the hospital.
I'm walking here.
Yeah, you were walking.
Yeah. That's why you use closed sets and stuff like that.
I remember when I watched French Connection with my buddy Adam, when that scene got done, we were like, how did they make this? Like, I wanted to see a behind-the-scenes little featurette about it, and like, I was thinking they could never get away with doing that today the way they filmed that. I don't think they could.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting, there's for people who are movie car buffs, there's sort of this holy trilogy of car chases. There's Bullet, there's French Connection, and there's a movie called The 7-Ups, starring Roy Scheider, that has a very, very dramatic and exciting car chase. And they were all planned and driven and organized by the same stunt team. And so there was a group of guys, Hollywood filmmakers, that when they needed to do car chases, they brought this team in and said, okay, you're going to set this up and handle it. And the interesting thing about the 7-Ups is at the end of the chase, Roy Scheider's driving this car. I think it's like an Oldsmobile or something. And he slams into the back of a truck, and he kind of ducks, and the truck is high enough off the ground where the hood goes under the truck, and then the windshield and everything hits the truck. And that particular ending to that car chase was deliberately staged to mimic what happened to Jane Mansfield.
Which is why they have the Mansfield bars now in cars.
Yeah. Yeah, so she was in a car, front seat of a car. They were driving a little faster than they should have, and apparently there was a truck out that was spraying for mosquitoes or something.
Fogging,
And they came around a turn, and the truck was sitting right there, and they went under the truck. And so the driver and Jane Mansfield was killed.
Didn't decapitate her, but it hit her at the top right here.
Well, they found her wig, and when they saw the wig, they thought she had been scalped, and then they said, oh, no, this is a wig. But interestingly is the actress Mariska Hargitay was in the car. That is Jane Mansfield's daughter, and she was like in the backseat of the car and survived.
Were there three of them that were survived? 3 of her children were in there that survived?
Something like that. Yeah, I think the people who were in the backseat survived. The Chihuahua got killed, and the people in the front seat got killed.
I remember talking about this on our previous show.
Yeah.
It might have been like Hollywood.
Crime scene. Yeah.
Hollywood. Yeah, I was trying to think of the episode. Might have just been like car crashes of famous people.
Yeah, I think we called it like planes, trains, and automobiles or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So that's come up. So
in our darker years,
I think that's fascinating though. Those three movies were within about the same period of time.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and they're three of the most thrilling car chases ever put on film. So if you get a chance, check those out.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd never heard of what's it called?
The 7-Ups. Yeah.
7-Ups?
I haven't heard of that either.
Yeah, it was
Roy
about like
Scheider's
a
cool.
police team made up of 7 guys who made up this unit within the police department. And yeah, Roy Scheider, he was on a hot streak in the 70s and 80s. And yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yes, thank you. Blue Thunder.
Now, we talked a moment ago about, what percentage of a movie should be made up of a car chase. How does 40 minutes sound? 40 continuous minutes of a car chase. That describes this movie, Gone in 60 Seconds, but not the Nicolas Cage version. This is the 1974 version, written and directed by H.B. Toby Halicki. And 93 cars were destroyed during this 40-minute car chase, featuring a yellow Mustang Mach 1 called Eleanor that just gets tore up throughout the film. And that destroyed Mustang goes on tour and could be seen today. And
What year of the Mach 1?
it was a 73, I believe, was the Mach 1.
That's
because the
great.
movie came out in 74. So, but yeah, so it's just nonstop action for 40 minutes. And I jokingly describe the rest of the movie leading up to the car chase is like a poorly acted porn film. That's about the quality of it.
You
lighting.
know, Joe.
Hey, I like the classics. But up until Toby Halicki is stealing Eleanor, he's pulling out of, I think, a parking structure, a parking lot or something. He sits there for a second. He looks. He sees like a cop car looking for him. He hits the gas, and it's 40 minutes of anarchy. So you can skip everything up to that point, but when you get to that point where you see the Eleanor sitting in that drive ready to go, just pop some popcorn, sit down, and enjoy the ride. It is spectacular.
You can imagine the studio exec before the shooting script comes out. It's like, why is this? And then they chase. Really? That's it? Is this the back?
The script is
Are
10
there more
pages long.
Are there more pages to this?
and there's a guy sitting there with a chomping on a cigar for like 10 seconds, and then he goes, I love it. Let's do it.
Make it. Just run with it. What do you need? 93 cars? Destroy them all.
You got it, man. Let's do it.
Now, here's an interesting little tidbit. So 40 cars were destroyed during Gone in 60 Seconds. Later, we're going to go in more detail about this, but during the Blues Brothers, which came out in 1980, 103 cars were wrecked during the Blues Brothers. That record was broken by Toby Halicki again with a movie he did called The Junk Man, which came out in 1982. He destroyed 150 cars. And that record was broken, and I find this a little hard to believe, but 300 cars were destroyed during The Matrix Reloaded. And I'm like, 300 cars.
How many of those were just engineless and they just pushed them out,
right.
you know?
Probably a lot of them.
Or how many of them had been swiped on one side and were in a junkyard? That looks pretty good from one angle. You know?
And they like, get them to look new, and then they collapse like aluminum foil.
Yeah, I was wondering what the process is like for going out and getting 300 cars.
Yeah, to destroy.
Where do you get a, yeah.
Now, a sad little footnote, Andrew, I'm trying to remember if you and I were talking about this. Toby Halicki, who directed Gone in 60 Seconds and then The Junk Man, he was working on a sequel to Gone in 60 Seconds, Gone in 60 Seconds 2, and he had an elaborate stunt set up and had like a live audience there to watch the stunt unfold. And everything was rigged to fall and explode and everything on cue. So he's explaining to the audience, okay, here's what's going to happen, blah, 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 blah. When a water tower that had been rigged to collapse just started to collapse and landed on top of Toby Halicki and killed him in front of the audience. The movie was never finished. Someone ended up releasing some of the footage up to that moment. But,
no.
Yeah, it just, imagine sitting there in the crowd getting ready to watch this stunt unfold, and the
That's
director
horrific.
gets killed right on the set.
And he was actually, that's it.
And it
that's
fell
the end
right
of
on him. Yeah.
I mean,
So-
one, the importance of rehearsal.
Well, that's what they were setting up for. Like, okay, here's what's going to happen. Yeah.
Two, to be in the audience and go, I'm sure this is all part of the stunt.
Yeah.
Right?
It's all part of the show.
I know that scream and blood looked pretty real. Yeah. I think all the
Yeah.
crews, why is the crew panicking?
Yeah. So it's a tragic end for Toby Halicki, who gave us some pretty spectacular car chases. If I remember correctly, he introduced what was it? It was like the flip car, something like that. It was a car that was shaped like a wedge, and as he was trying to elude police, and they kind of paid homage to this in one of the Fast and Furious movies, where let's say there's a bunch of cop cars blocking a road, this wedge would just drive through and just flip cars over. And so I can't remember if it was the Junkman or Gone in 60 Seconds 2, but they introduced this wedge car that they later paid tribute to in Gone in 60 Seconds.
That was Condor Man.
That was a wedge-shaped car too, but I don't think that actually flipped cars over.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so Toby Halicki, he contributed a lot to the car chase genre, and he was pretty awesome. Another movie, again, when we're breaking it down into percentages, the car chase in this particular movie might be 80 to 90% of this film. And we are talking about Smokey and the Bandit, 1977.
Yeah.
Would have been the highest grossing movie of the year if it wasn't for a little sci-fi movie called Star Wars. And right up there with Toby Halicki, we have Hal Needham. He was the writer-director on Smokey and the Bandit, and him and Burt Reynolds teamed up multiple times for Cannonball Run, which is on my list, Stroker Ace, which started a decline. But Hal Needham was one of the greatest Hollywood stuntmen and car movie directors, and put out some pretty entertaining stuff.
Was Dukes of Hazzard directly influenced? I mean, I gotta imagine it was around the late 70s, early 80s.
Well, yeah,
lots of jumps and things, and
yeah, I'm trying to remember what year Dukes of Hazzard premiered on TV, but there was a CB craze. In the Southern car chase
big
movie
Convoy,
craze
which
and
is
all
a
that.
big CB thing. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. So there was a bit of a craze at that time period. Another movie that Hal Needham and Burt Reynolds teamed up on was a stunt movie called Hooper, where Burt Reynolds was a Hollywood stuntman for Adam West, which was interesting. So Burt Reynolds was Adam West's stuntman in this movie. But that was kind of a behind-the-scenes look at the world of stunts in Hollywood, and that was a really entertaining movie.
I swear to God, I'm close to Joe Bingo on this. I got Smokey and the Bandit, French Connection, Bullet, Gone in 60 Seconds. I'm close.
Yeah.
On my list. I mean, this is why I enjoy these lists, because you knocked on half my list. And so I'm like, I'm close to
And
Bingo.
that'll wrap up this episode.
Nick, what's your contribution?
Now,
I got it.
All the meat was taken off the bone by Joe.
Now think about this. Burt Reynolds, because of his association with Hal Needham and doing Smokey and the Bandit, which was just an enormous blockbuster, made Burt Reynolds, or helped make Burt Reynolds, a major, major star. The problem was, at that time, Burt kind of felt indebted to Hal Needham, so he turned down Oscar-caliber roles to do Stroker Ace and Hooper because he felt obligated. So he was actually supposed to be in the movie Terms of Endearment that won Jack Nicholson an Oscar.
Whoa.
And so he missed out on some of those opportunities, and I think he might have been a little bitter about it. But
yeah,
now
further encapsulated him or solidified him as kind of a, I don't know, not quite your. I mean, he was great in Deliverance. He was great in. There's a few things he's absolutely fantastic in, and then the rest of them are just more cheesy. It's kind of too bad. It's kind of like what happened to Elvis.
Well, prior to Smokey and the Bandit, and this is probably what led up to Smokey and the Bandit, was he did a couple of movies called White Lightning and Gator, where he was sort of a bootlegger who was always trying to elude the police, and he got up and mixed up in some crime. So even before Smokey and the Bandit, he was driving cars fast on dirt back roads, that sort of thing. So if I was to do kind of a Mount Rushmore connected to the world of car movies, Burt Reynolds would be up there because he had done so many of those.
Sure.
Even in a movie like what was the football movie that he did?
The one from inside the
The
prison.
prison.
The Longest Yard.
The Longest Yard.
Thank you.
There's a car chase in The Longest Yard. He drives, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, a Citroen,
Citroen?
Yeah. What lands him in prison
yeah.
is a lengthy car chase in The Longest Yard. So
cool.
he's always been associated with fast cars.
You've made me now want to go back and watch that Oscar show for Terms of Endearment. I want to see if they purposely put Nicholson and Burt away, because you see Burt just going to trip.
Cut
Nicholson.
to his reaction.
He sticks his leg out as Nicholson's going by. You son of a, here you go.
Yeah. So he kind of gave up, a more prestigious career to do the car chase movies, and it made him a huge star, but at what cost? So kind of unfortunate. But I gotta say, Smokey and the Bandit, especially when you take into consideration Jackie Gleason as Sheriff Buford T. Justice.
I wonder how many
phenomenal.
people. I wonder
Love that role.
I wonder how many actors have done that. I'm gonna work with this director because I follow since like Will Smith. No, I don't want to do The Matrix. I'll do Wild Wild West.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
Yeah. How many times have you looked back? I think Eddie Murphy, when someone asked him what his regret was, it was turning down Ghostbusters.
Oh, yeah.
So there's always those big regrets that some actors
Did he
have
turn
had.
down Ghostbusters?
That's
or
what
was
I.
it-
That's
or was
what
he blocked?
I believe he
was
had
it what?
turned it
Or was
down.
he blocked for it because they wrote it because they wanted him?
They wrote it for
Yeah.
him, yeah.
Yeah, and when he basically said no, they reduced the part and gave it to the actor
Ernie
who played
Hudson.
Ernie Hudson, who played
Oh, if he
Winston
said no,
Zeta.
then Eddie,
Yeah.
Eddie. Oh, if
Well,
said
he
no to
did.
that.
He did all right. Don't wipe
It
away
would have
your
been
tears.
it would have been a more interesting movie though.
Oh yeah,
It
he
did
would
well,
He would
but
have
I
been
would've-
introduced at the beginning as opposed to coming in halfway through the film.
Yeah.
like Ernie Hudson.
Ernie, what? That's true.
Yeah. So yeah, Smokey and the Bandit, one of my all-time favorite movies. The sequels, not so much. Those are painful viewing.
What sequels?
Now, I'm sure I've shared this story before, but since we're talking about Smokey and the Bandit, one of the greatest moments of my life was being invited to a movie premiere in L.A. at the Egyptian on Hollywood Boulevard. It was Burt Reynolds' last film called The Last Movie Star, where they made reference to Smokey and the Bandit and some of his earlier stuff like Deliverance. And not only did I get to attend the premiere and saw Burt Reynolds in person and fellow actors, but then I was invited to the post-premiere party where Burt Reynolds sat there and greeted everybody who came in. And on the off chance that I would have an opportunity to say hi to him, I brought a die-cast Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am with me and handed it to him with a Sharpie. He wrote, "Love ya, Burt Reynolds," and handed it back to
That
me.
is
So-
such a bitchin'.
So that's on a
It's so
shelf,
cool.
a Smokey and the Bandit die-cast Trans Am.
And you'll sell
signed by
that for
Burt
how
Reynolds.
much?
It's going to go in my grave.
That's
so
what I figured.
I'm going to have an unmarked grave so you people can't dig it up. And,
Joe's
but,
gonna be one of the few people that gets grave robbed.
There's
Because all the
got to be
Hollywood
something in
memorabilia.
there.
He's got a gold ring here. Never mind that.
Yeah. Move his hand, see if the
Exactly.
car is in there. But that's definitely one of my prized possessions because that was like in March of 2018, and he passed away in November of 2018. So it was just a few months later. So that's proudly on display in my home. And they say never meet your heroes, but man, come on, Burt Reynolds, and he was awesome.
I would
Really
love to
super
see you
nice.
just walk in there and be like, "Hey, Bert, Bernie says," and you pick a random because some agent or manager or lawyer is named Bernie. It's like Bernie says he has the stuff ready for you. Oh yeah, come on in.
Exactly. Well, I think it's interesting. Why is it that we're so captivated by a car chase? What is it that is so enthralling? What is it that grabs you? Is it the fact that it's kind of like everybody's walking a tightrope? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could fall at any moment. I mean, in other words, you're in these cars and you're cruising as fast as you can, and there's things that are happening. There's bits of dialogue and other things, but people are trying to run you off the road or push you to do things that you wouldn't normally do. And so it's it feels like this ever tightening, but it never quite tightens all the way. It feels like you're always being thrust through a birth canal or something. I
Yeah.
don't know what. It's like you're always trying to.
Well, it's an adrenaline. It's an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
And there's consequences. I mean, the
Yeah.
faster
Consequences.
you go,
Yes.
the more likely you're going to
Die.
crash into
Yeah, I was gonna
somebody.
say at any second there could be death.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that's like you're going like 80 on I-75, 90 on I-75, 100 on I-75. Then you see a knock on the door. It's death. Going, are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you serious right now? I got other stuff to do. What are you doing? Is this a midlife crisis? Slow down.
Yeah. And I see these
Or take
TikTok
the turn.
videos and Facebook videos all the time of people driving like
it's insane.
maniacs on the freeway. And then the thing I'll never understand. Now, I got a Mustang convertible, V8. And if I'm driving and it's raining or snowing, it's a little slick. If I start to feel the car fishtail a little bit, I let off the gas. And guess what? It straightens out and it's good. I see these videos where these cars are out of control and they're under the assumption that they can gas their way out of it, that they can, and you see it just escalate and get worse and worse until it rolls 8 times and they have to be extricated from the car. And I'll never understand it. Lift your foot off the gas.
Yeah.
But there's you have hit a nail on the head with the adrenaline thing. It's like when you're going really fast, you get off the exit, the cop has caught you, turns on their lights, they're at a dead stop. And you're like, can I make it to that subdivision? And just turn off the car, roll the seat down, and then I got away with it. And you go,
Yeah.
I got away with it. The cops didn't catch me. Ooh, that could have been a ticket. Now just quietly drive like a grandma all the way home. And then you live to tell, guess what I did, guys? I ditched the cops.
You know what's funny? I heard somebody tell me a story like that where they pulled into a side street, pulled against the curb, sat there waiting for the cop to come by. And the cop came by, stopped, turned, went up to him, said, "Hey, how you doing?" And he's like, "How did you find me?" And he goes, "You're mashing the brake. Your brake lights are on." Well, that's why
Moron.
these people get arrested.
So you mentioned Star Wars,
Yes.
and there's not an episode that goes by where we don't mention Star Wars. But,
Rightfully so.
but I had to
Sure.
bring this up with playing bingo here. I do like the idea that a lot of that was an outer space car chase.
Oh, sure. The Millennium Falcon is a souped-up hot rod, a rat
Exactly.
rod, basically.
Well, and that's what it looks like. He's done the modifications. He's a gearhead.
Dice,
Yeah.
The dice.
Does he have dice?
Yeah.
He does have dice.
I
I'll go
have
back
that
and see.
same pair hanging from my rearview mirror in my car.
But when
There's
they
like
get
just some
down into the
symbols on it.
canyon, and it's Luke and it's the other guy, and the other guy, and he fly, and it's just Luke now,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the 3 with Luke's or Darth Vader, and then the other 2 of them.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean, it's a car chase.
It is.
I'm sorry, it's a car chase because none of us will ever experience that. But what's so exciting is that they're going faster and faster, and the photography makes it look like they're passing us up as a viewer, and then you're like, we got to get back out in front, and they pass us up again.
Yeah.
It's all the tricks that they use in car chase scenes.
Yeah. Now, since you brought
Go
it
ahead.
up, what was George Lucas's big hit before Star Wars?
American Graffiti.
Yep.
Oh, and that's all in cars.
Yeah, yep.
He
And
His
there's
love
the
letter.
end scene with Harrison Ford, and I love that.
that's all part of the fabric of movies. Yeah. So there's no coincidence that you got that feeling watching Star Wars because he cruised up in Modesto, California with his friends, and they all had hot rods and rat rods that they worked on and tinkered on and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So you see that in Luke's land speeder. There's a panel missing where you see wiring and stuff, and
There's some
dents
rust
and
and
stuff
some
on it.
some turquoise blue and primer gray.
So yeah, that's a great observation, George.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Let's see. So we were talking. We touched briefly on the Blues Brothers. That came out in 1980, directed by John Landis, written by Landis and Dan Aykroyd of SNL fame, starring John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. Quite possibly the most popular movie based on an SNL sketch. Like I said earlier, 103 cars were wrecked during the film. The mall scene is one of the most spectacular car chases. I mean, they're leading hundreds of police cars, and they enter a mall, and I never forget that line from Dan Aykroyd. Now, that mall got everything. I just think that's hilarious as you're driving through it. You can't argue the fact that that's one of the greatest car chases. And again, when you break it down into percentages, they're in that car for a good 80% of that movie. And I think it's one of the greatest car chase movies of all time. Andrew, tell me you've seen the Blues Brothers.
One time.
One time.
It counts.
Probably 20 years ago. I remember the opening scene when they're getting let out of jail,
Mm-hmm.
and they're
Joliet.
giving them back their stuff that they confiscated. I do not remember the mall scene.
Oh, yeah.
I do not remember that.
You'll have to revisit
I
it.
need to rewatch it.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
one of the greatest
What
car
happened to the
chases.
caddy? I traded it for microphone. I could see that.
That's right. I wish I had a sound clip ready to go right now. There's so many good lines in that movie. But yeah, that car was a 1974 Dodge Monaco. And here's another little story I want to share with you. So I have some friends that collect replicas of TV and movie cars. In some cases, they're the actual car from the film or whatever. And they usually bring out a small fleet of cars to Dream Cruise every year, So I get a text from one of my friends. He says, "You going to Dream Cruise this year?" I said, "Yeah, I'm looking forward to it." he says, we have a bit of a problem. He says, we want to bring as many cars as we can because they had 9 Mile and Woodward blocked off for as big of a display of TV and movie cars as they can get. And they're like, we're trying to get as many cars as we can. And they said, you want to drive one of the cars? I said, hell yeah, I don't care what it is. So I show up. They're pulling all these cars out of the big storage area where my friends have them. And they're like, which one do you want? And I said, well, I can't drive a stick, so it has to be a manual. He says, we'll give you the Blues Brothers car. It has a giant speaker on the roof, so I can't go too fast because it'll rip the speaker right off.
Giant
speaker, yeah.
Oh, bullhorn speaker. Oh my!
So
gosh.
we got a bit of a parade going to 9 Mile, and everyone's turning and looking at the Bluesmobile going by. It was so absolutely thrilling. But here's the funny part. So we get to 9 Mile, everybody parks. We got everything on display, and I see a friend of mine, and he's like, "What are you doing driving the Bluesmobile?" And so I'm showing him the car, and there's a little gadget, a little battery-operated gadget that had some buttons on it. And if you press the buttons, lines from the movie play on that big speaker.
No.
But I had trouble hearing what was being said because I was inside the car. Well, at one point I hit a button, and I see a woman and her daughter walking in front of the car, and she stops and gives me this angry look. And she comes over to the passenger side window, says something to me that I didn't comprehend, and she walks away, like grabs her daughter and walks away. Meanwhile, I see two of my friends doubled over laughing hysterically.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, what just happened? And he said, when you hit the button on the thing, the line that came out over the speaker was, how much for the little girl?
No! How much for your wife? The
As
little girls.
the woman is walking past the car. And I'm like, oh, no. And they were like, only you, Johnson. So that was a pretty cool moment.
That's
But
great.
driving the Bluesmobile.
Hello, officer. No, I swear to God, that's not what I intended.
What had happened was,
I'm
So-
a fan of the Blues Brothers. That's why you're driving away right now.
so that was a fun moment, and driving that car was pretty awesome. So
The bridge scene in Blues Brothers is pretty cool too.
yeah, even
because
though it's
there's
pretty exaggerated, because when the one car goes off the bridge, because the Bluesmobile like flips backwards or
that's
something,
the part I'm referring to.
and
yeah.
and then the red car with the Nazis in it like goes off the bridge, and then it falls for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, what bridge will allow you to fall for 10 minutes if you exit off the edge of the bridge? It was a little comical, a little cartoony, but yeah, that was a lot of fun.
No, I
was
liked
pretty
that.
fun.
I liked the fact that it did the backflip. It was great.
Yeah, it almost, it's funny. We could do a whole podcast on cars that are sentient, that seem to have some sort of personality, like
Oh my
Herbie or
goodness.
Chitty Chitty.
Sure.
But in a way, the Bluesmobile kind of had a little bit of that
A little
too.
bit of that, yeah.
And then when they finally reach the destination, it just sort of falls to pieces. It's like we're done here. But yeah, so that's a fun one. Definitely recommend that. A more modern film that's on my list, even though it's shocking to me to see that this came out, gosh, almost 20 years ago. I can't believe this. Have you guys ever seen Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof?
That's on my list.
Yes,
On your list?
Have
Nick,
you
have you
seen
seen it?
yes,
I have not seen
George?
it.
Ooh, you have not.
So the idea was, and it's
Haven't.
not everybody's cup of tea,
Yeah.
but Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino teamed up to release a drive-in double feature. So Robert Rodriguez did a zombie flick. What was that one called?
Planet Terror.
Planet Terror was the first half. Then there's some fake trailers between the two films, and Let's Go to the Lobby and all that stuff. Then the second part of the double feature starts, called Death Proof. A lot of people didn't understand what was going on. They left after the first film. They thought it was over, and there was a whole second film yet to play. This movie, directed and written by Quentin Tarantino, is one of the greatest car chase movies I've ever seen. It's a loving homage to the 70s exploitation films, where you see a bunch of little Easter eggs that refer to Bullet and Gone in 60 Seconds and all these movies, Vanishing Point, that came out before it.
Yep.
The first half of the movie is a little misogynistic, where Kurt Russell plays kind of this villainous stuntman who ends up killing a carload of young vixens, The second half of that particular movie, the girls turn the table on Kurt Russell, and it is thrilling. I'm like, in the theater, I wanted to stand on my feet and cheer. Like, to see the women turn the tables on Kurt Russell was just absolutely thrilling. I just loved it.
Joe, did you see the double feature in the theater?
Yes.
Yeah, I was there too. Saw it at Great Lakes with my buddy Derek, and we were like, why don't more people do this?
I know.
It was such a cool event.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything like it or since then.
Yeah. But that was kind of a staple when I was a kid. You'd go to the drive-in, you'd see a double feature. You'd go to the dollar show, and you'd sit through a couple of movies, and there'd be trailers and, snack promos in between the films.
Typically, the PG-13 was first, and then the R was second.
Yeah,
so families could drive out. But
so that whole thing captured that vibe, and it was
cool.
like time traveling back to the 70s. But I didn't care for Planet Terror as much as I liked Death Proof, and if you haven't seen it, you got to see it. Nick, what's your thoughts on Death Proof?
I enjoyed it. When I'd seen car chase movies, but then when I saw Tarantino's take on it, I went, I enjoyed the hell out of it. And after coming from a zombie flick, to have that come on, I'm like, this is what. And Kurt Russell, every time I think he can, like, Kurt's just fading to the background, he'll do something that brings me out. Stargate.
Mm-hmm.
Death Proof. I'm like, look at you.
Yeah, and one complaint that people had about Death Proof is Quentin Tarantino's known for his dialogue. His movies are pretty dialogue heavy, and some people who saw Death Proof was like, maybe he didn't need so much dialogue. maybe get to the car chase a little quicker. So he actually got criticized for having a little too much dialogue.
Can't help himself.
But I enjoyed the heck out of the film.
I really liked. I had to look up her name because I couldn't remember her name. The Australian chick,
Zoe Bell.
Zoe Bell, that's right. She was great in it.
Oh yeah, and she did her own stunts.
She did all of her own stunts, and I was recently rewatching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and she's got a small part in that.
She's the wife of
when he's fighting Bruce Lee.
That's right.
And then she was in something else. I remember seeing her in, but anyway, I thought she was great. She really stood out. And then I had to go look over the cast list because I haven't seen this movie in a long time. Then, of course, Rosario Dawson's in it.
Yeah.
Rose McGowan. Doesn't she play the same character as in Planet Terror?
I don't know if there's a connection there or not.
I think she does, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I completely forgot she's in it.
Yeah, I think that
Eli
might be the
Roth.
first thing. Yeah.
It's a great movie, but in the grand scheme of Tarantino films, for me, it's down there with Hateful Eight.
Really? That low? Okay.
But I've seen it once in the theater, and I've seen it once right after that when it came out on DVD. I haven't seen it in probably 18 years, so I need to rewatch it.
I want to know who's his casting director, because they always somehow load that cast up. I mean, you just brought up Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It had Austin Butler in it, and now it had a future Oscar winner in Mikey.
Yeah.
And
Mikey
then
Madison.
Maya
Hawke.
In
Margaret Qualley.
Margaret Qualley's in it.
My favorite.
They're all going
Sydney
on
Sweeney's in it.
Sydney Sweeney's in it. There's someone else in it too. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
His casting director is just.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a Bill Belichick tree. It's like, there's an Oscar winner. There's a Hall of Famer. There's a Hall of Famer. There's a Hall of Famer.
Now, I read a little tidbit earlier today. So Zoe Bell, who had been a stunt woman up until she started getting these acting parts, when she was cast to play that character in Death Proof, Quentin Tarantino said, well, since you're acting in this, we're going to get you a stunt person to do the stunts. And she's like, the hell you are? It's like, that's what I do. And he was like, all right, don't get angry. So she did the stunts and the acting. And
but when they say, look, unless
spectacular.
you're Jackie Chan and it's your money in this, if you die, you don't know what kind of hell. First of all, my condolences to your family, but you don't know what hell it puts me through.
Yeah. But I thought that was pretty cool. So if you haven't seen Death Proof, check it out. I really enjoyed it. Another movie that, if I was to break this down into percentages, I would say maybe 40 to 50% of this movie is a car chase. Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, released in 1981, directed by George Miller, starring Mel Gibson. His car of choice was a 1973 Ford Falcon GT, which we know as the V8 Interceptor. The interesting thing about this particular movie is, you could picture Mad Max driving that black Interceptor. He drove it in the first film. in the sequel, he still had it, but I think it gets blown up at some point, which is heartbreaking. But the thrilling chase in this movie is when he has to drive the tanker that supposedly is carrying fuel. And all the outlaws in the desert go after the tanker as sort of a spoiler alert decoy. And that lengthy chase of all the bad guys coming after the tanker and stuff is, again, one of the most thrilling car chases
and they
ever put
redid
to
it
film.
again, the same type of thing, but it was supposed to be full of women, right?
Yeah, and Fury
But
Road.
the first
Furiosa.
time that happened, this big crappy school bus, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that they have the fuel on, right?
Yeah, it was kind of a bait and switch. So the tanker truck with Mel Gibson driving it takes off. That brings
that's right.
all the bad guys after it.
That's right.
Which takes the attention off the school bus.
The school
which
bus was actually
carrying
people.
There were fuel and stuff on the
The
school
fuel.
bus. Yeah.
So that to me was awesome because the tanker is not something that's fast.
Yeah,
it's not something
it's
that's very
powerful
maneuverable,
as hell, yeah.
and it's as big as it's not something small.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they've got all these. The other thing is that when you watch the first one, is it Mad Max, right?
Yeah, Mad Max is the first
So the
one.
first one, Mad Max, the reason it's so cool is it's just so out there.
Yeah.
And then when you come to the Road Warrior, it's 10 steps beyond that. It's Mad Max on cocaine. And
post-apocalyptic.
Post-apocalyptic. And the outfits are ridiculous. And then they tried to go even more ridiculous with number 3, which was a complete disaster.
I may have seen, what was that,
Beyond Thunderdome.
I
Yeah,
think
with
I've seen
Tina
that
Turner.
once or twice when it was on cable back in the 80s.
It was
I
a
have
galactic
no desire to see
HUD.
it.
Yeah,
It was
I've
terrible.
never seen it. I've seen every other Mad Max movie, but not that one.
You're not missing anything. But it was kind of like we can go even further and throw Tina Turner in.
Yeah.
But a lot of the cars were kind of bouncing along, and they kind of like they kind of would fold and things like that. It's like, is that thing made out of metal or is it made out of cardboard?
Yeah.
But I
And
did
then,
like
of course,
that.
they revisit that world when they rebooted the movies. George Miller got back involved. They did Fury Road, followed by Furiosa. And Fury Road basically is one long
I was going to say
car
it's
chase.
a 95% car chase movie.
Yeah, and that's being a car chase guy, you'd think that I would embrace that and love it, but I'm like, I need some story.
Some
Like,
story,
give me
yeah.
something.
Because they
And-
came back to the exact same
Yeah.
spot. That's
So when people say, well, what's Fury Road about? Bunch of people drive from point A to point B, and then go from point B to point A, and credits roll. That's the synopsis of the movie, which I think is insulting. Give us a little bit more than that. Furiosa had a little bit more of a storyline, and it I think it actually complements Fury Road quite well.
Yep.
But you need more than a 90-minute car chase, and I can't believe I'm saying that. But
That'd be like Lord of the Rings. Frodo goes all the way to the mountain and is like, oh, I forgot the ring. Damn it, I have to go back and get it. I left it in my drawer. Sorry, guys. We just have to go back and go get it. Then we'll start over again. Like, my God, dude, you had one job.
You got me thinking about Blazing Saddles when all the bad guys get to the toll booth and they're like, you need a dime for the toll booth. He's like, someone's got to go back and get a shitload of dimes. That is hysterical. That is so funny. All right, so that was Mad Max 2. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about James Bond. So the first James Bond movie was Dr. No with Sean Connery, and that featured some cool cars in it, but not so much car chases and stuff. There's a couple of moments where a driver gets killed or something in the car, but not what we've come to know from James Bond. The follow-up, 1964, was Goldfinger. Q reveals the Aston Martin DB5 and goes over its factory features.
Love it.
Bulletproof screen, ejector seat. You must be joking. The slashers on the tires, the oil slick, the smoke screen.
Machine guns.
Imagine.
Did you say the ejector seat already?
Yeah, the ejector seat. Now, Goldfinger came out before I was born, and I didn't see it until a little bit later in my life. But I imagine a young person being taken to a movie theater by their parents and seeing this Aston Martin DB5 in action and going, well, I want one of those. And of course, they came out with the toys, the Corgi toys that had the working ejector
I
seat and
had
all
the
that.
one with the ejector seat
Yeah.
and the little shield that pops up in
Yeah,
the back.
exactly.
And if you push down, I can't remember what you did, but if you push something down, the guns would come out the front.
Yeah, yeah.
I wish I had that. That was so cool. It's gone.
Yeah. And so they didn't just talk the talk. They put this car through the motions, and there's a whole lengthy scene where he's getting chased by the bad guys, and he does the oil slick, which like sends a guy off a cliff or something. He does the smoke screen, the bulletproof screen, all that stuff. And I could imagine as a kid going, oh my
He does the
God.
ejector seat. The guys, I'm like, dude, don't let him push the button. I know there's a language barrier, but red button, not good. Shoot him. Shoot him if you value
Yeah.
life.
What's the video game that came out because of that?
Well, there's GoldenEye, which was a really popular.
No. I
video
mean the
game.
driving, the one with the car that you could drive.
Oh, Spy
Hunter.
something. Yeah.
Spy
Yeah.
Hunter. That's
yeah,
it.
Yeah, that was
That
an
was cool
arcade
because
game.
it had a smoke screen, oil slick. It had guns in the front.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was
They
it
were
was just
supposed to do a Spy Hunter movie that I don't think ever materialized. But now, of course, I got my little stories here, and I'm pretty proud of this one. So being a big James Bond fan, I was a fan of the TV show Mythbusters. You guys ever watch Mythbusters?
Oh, yeah.
So they had a forum set up where fans of the show, viewers, can go into the forum and suggest myths to bust on their show. And so I went to the forum and I searched and searched and searched for an idea that I had, and I saw nobody else had presented this idea. So I'm like, I'm going to present the idea. So I type up, can you evade a pursuer using a oil slick, using a smoke screen, using road spikes or whatever? And I submit it. Well, like a year goes by, and I kind of forgot about it. And then one day I'm watching Mythbusters, and they go, we're going to tackle a myth. Can you evade a pursuer with a smoke screen, oil slick, and road spikes? And I'm like,
That's your episode?
come on, man, come on. And that's exactly what they did. They tested, and none of these things worked. Jamie was in the pursuit car. Adam was driving, the Bond car, and nothing shook the pursuer, even the spikes in the road. And so I went to a Comic-Con years ago in
Did they
LA.
credit you at all to that?
No. But what's the one guy's name? In addition to Jamie and Adam, they had the three other ones. There was the girl and the two guys. And I apologize, I'm drawing a blank. But one of them was at this Comic-Con in LA, and I went up to him and I said, I think I'm responsible for one of your episodes. And he kind of like rolled his eyes like, yeah, which one was that? And I said, well, I suggested in a forum, the spy car myth. And he goes, it's very likely they used your idea. And I'm like, that is the coolest thing I've ever heard. So if you've seen that episode,
Yeah.
You're
I'm
welcome.
the guy. I'm the guy.
Well done, Joe.
Yeah. Now, they did do a separate episode where they tested the ejection seat, and that was pretty funny, where they tried to get staffers to sit in the ejector seat, and none of them, they were like, wait a second, it's sitting too high. There's something wrong here. So no one just blindly sat in the ejector seat.
The
But it was
insurance will
pretty
not
funny.
cover that. That's Buster all the way. Put Buster in there.
It sounds like a job for Jackass.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
Sit in the ejector seat and go up through the
Exactly.
roof.
In your underwear. 'Cause everything's in your underwear. Yeah.
Now, following Goldfinger, the next greatest car chase I think that came from the Bond universe was The Spy Who Loved Me in 1977.
Lotus Esprit.
The Lotus Esprit.
Oh.
Think about this. Not only is it different than what, James Bond was driving, elegant, Aston Martins and stuff like that. Now all of a sudden he's driving this Lotus Esprit, which the company that made these Lotus Esprits were like, please use our car, please. And so they gave him a bunch of cars for the filming. So here's that chase scene where there's like a motorcycle with like a sidecar is chasing him, and then another vehicle comes, and
the helicopter?
and then the helicopter comes.
Yep.
Now imagine you're sitting in the theater, you're watching this. He's trying to evade the beautiful helicopter pilot, and he's like, "Can you swim?" And the car goes off the dock into the water, and you're like, "What the hell is he doing?"
Yes.
Then you see the
wheels go
conversion,
in,
and it turns into a friggin' submarine. I got goosebumps thinking about it. That was one of the coolest car moments in film
And
history.
the fact that it leaks just a little bit, I love.
Yeah,
Because
and
it's
only
not too
because
perfect.
some of the bad guys show up and they had like some underwater depth charges. So those depth charges are what
I
caused.
saw
the
that in the
car.
movie theater. I saw that with my family. I specifically remember that scene because they go over the edge, and she's like, and he casually reaches over and assures her, maybe even holds her hand, and they go in the water like, you guys are dead.
Yeah,
And then all of a sudden they start to propel forward, and you're like, no way! It's so cool.
yeah. And so years ago, I was invited to be on a show about movies' greatest cars, and I went out to L.A. and met with some of the people who were going to be on it. And there was a guy sitting next to me, and I was like, "What are you on this show for?" And he goes, "Oh, I curate a Bond collection, James Bond collection, props and cars and gadgets and stuff." And I said, "Hey, I read this really cool story online," and I proceeded to tell him this story about how a guy went to the Bahamas and found some of the Lotus Esprit submarines left behind from the production.
What?
It was like payment for using the land where they shot some of the scenes. So this guy shows up at the Bahamas. He's talking to this woman. He says, "I understand you may have a car." And she's like, "Yes." He's like, "Can we see it?" She's like, "Yes." Takes him to her garden, and
No.
it's sitting in her garden, painted bright red and adorned with Christmas lights. And he examines the shell. He sees like a VIN number. He goes, this is the car we're looking for. And she's like, "I don't want to sell." He goes, "Oh, we're going to make it worth your while." So she finally agreed. When they agreed to a price, she said, "Do you want both of them?" And he's like, "What do you mean both of them?"
What?
There was a second one in a barn. So this guy buys both of these cars for one low price. So I'm sitting next to this guy, in this hotel on Sunset Boulevard, telling him this story, and the poor guy is humoring me. And as I finish my
No.
story, and I go, "Isn't that a cool story?" He goes, "That was me."
No. And he still got them, or what do you do with them?
Yeah, he bought both cars, but I'm telling him his story.
His story. I
and
bet he would. I
humored
bet
me
he would
the entire
love to hear that. Like, why would I stop this guy by telling him that was me? I want to hear what his angle is.
Yeah. So he got both cars professionally restored, and I've seen both of them in person. One was at the Peterson Museum. It's part of a rotating Bond exhibit that travels the country. The other one is at a museum in Las Vegas. There's a car museum in Las Vegas.
Now, these are fairly small cars, right? Are these Pininfarina, or who designed the outside of them?
The guy who
I
designed
mean, this is
them-
Lotus. I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the guy's name. You might have had that right there.
I'm not sure. It's either there's another designer for it, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
It might not be. But they're very small cars. They're kind of like the old Fieros, aren't they? About the same.
Sort of.
little
I think
bit?
Fieros are pretty small.
They are pretty
I climbed
small.
into a Fiero and the change fell out of my pocket.
I could see this. I could see this guy. I could see this guy getting upset. Like, how dare you? Didn't even embellish once. You didn't put me like I didn't wrestle a shark. Something. You could have put something else in there. You told that exactly as it is.
Yeah.
I'm
but
happy
he was
and
so
mad.
polite. And then a cool little, and we may get to this eventually, but a cool little connection is that the designer of the Lotus Esprit also had a hand in designing the DeLorean, DeLorean as seen in Back to the Future.
Interesting.
And when you think about it, there's similar
There's some
lines
similar lines,
there. There's
yeah.
similar angular wedge-shaped look there. So there's a connection there.
The gull wings.
Yeah, exactly. So I love the Lotus Esprit and that whole moment of turning into a sub, and just so much fun. So all right, so for the most part that covers my list. Let's go around the table.
We've got
Nick,
now. Are we doing road trip now?
well, in a second, let's get
Oh, okay.
any other things we might be overlooking. Nick, what are some spectacular car chase movies that come to mind?
I think we've all established that historically I am lazy on multiple levels, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. So,
Topographically?
oh no, absolutely, and all sorts of. I have like 31 different flavors of laziness because, my list is covered by Joe. So I contribute one this time.
What is it?
I was wondering from
I'm
Duel.
intrigued.
Duel.
Duel. Okay.
That was a chase.
yeah.
I
That was
still
what
need
I-
to see that. That was Spielberg's first.
That was the guy.
right?
There's
Yeah.
a truck chasing this one driver and it's pretty much the whole
When
movie.
they go up the side of they get
Mount-
to the top of
yeah.
the hill, and
the truck tries pushing the car over the
car
ledge.
starts to
It's-
overheat.
Yeah,
and all that.
and the guy can't.
I
he's
love
like,
that
"What is
movie."
it?" But so that's a car chase, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't do it. I was like, yeah, that struck
I
me.
saw that at like 1 a.m, and it was one of those.
It's one of those made-for-TV movies.
Made-for-TV
And you
movies.
just watch it,
Yeah.
and you're like, man, what did you do to this guy? And I was like,
Yeah.
man, this guy's a jerk. But okay.
I always had a problem with the premise. Now, let's say I'm driving across country. I'm on some road, Route 66 or something going across country, and a semi starts harassing me. I'm not just going to continue driving with this guy on my ass. I'm going to pull over somewhere and call a cop or something. You have to buy into the premise that Dennis Weaver's character allows this truck to harass him throughout the entire film until they finally have their
I
confrontation.
chalked it up to the 70s because otherwise you're right, because that's also most horror movies. Hey, let's go into the creepy swamp or then. Like, how about not? How about you just keep going to the prom that you were supposed to go to, you crazy teens?
Well, I will tell you a true story. And my sister was in a VW Rabbit going from Los Angeles to Nevada in the very earliest part of the morning, 2-3 in the morning, and she did not want to get off, but a guy pulled up alongside her. And noticed that he thought she was by herself, and started making some pretty lewd gestures. And so she slowed way down. There was nobody around. He slowed down with her. She sped up. He sped up with her.
See, that's terrifying.
And it's terrifying. And then she woke up my other sister, who sat up, and they started looking, and that made him even more excited.
Oh no!
But they were near exits, but there was nothing at the exits. There was no open restaurants or gas stations or anything, and there was no cell phones, and that was horrific for them. They went for I don't know, a half hour or 45 minutes or something, which was a long time.
And imagine you're looking at your gas gauge, like, oh no!
you look,
That's right.
you look at the engine temperature, like nothing should go wrong now. Like I don't need anything I don't need a flat tire, nothing.
Wow.
So finally, they got to a rest stop, and they pulled over, and the guy kept driving. He just didn't get off, but they were. I mean, so I don't know if it was. Maybe you could think of it that way. That movie could be. There's few and far between, and for them.
Yeah, because he wasn't in like any urban center. Like he was out in the boonies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Duel's my one
But he
thing.
kept waving him by.
Yeah.
They should have just wept. Dennis Weaver should have just gone on by. It would have just been fine.
And of course, that movie gave
Duel's
us
a great
Steven
one.
Spielberg, who followed that up with Jaws and all that stuff. So
Yeah, Duel's a great example. Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. Andrew, what did you bring to the table? Anything we're overlooking?
Baby
I do
Driver.
have a movie on my list that I wrote in. We'll see if you guys bring it up. But what do you got?
Baby Driver.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's one of the
You've
more
seen it?
recent ones. Yeah,
Oh man, I was so happy I saw that in the theater.
yeah.
It was so much different than the previous Edgar Wright movies, because he did Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, World's End, and this was
the trilogy.
completely different.
Yeah.
It was his first it was a true American film, because he's
Very
from-
stylish
Yeah.
and like the beats of the movie are in sync with the music
Yes.
playing.
That's
It's
the
really,
first thing I noticed.
Yeah.
And the way it was edited, so precise. Jamie Foxx, John Hamm, Kevin.
yeah. The actor.
You won't see. You'll never see him again in movies. Kevin Spacey.
Spacey. That's it.
Flea from the Chili Peppers has a small part in it.
Yeah.
And then that movie Drive. I know you've seen it. Have you seen it with Gosling? Drive.
Yeah.
Loved it.
It's ultra violent.
It
but
is ultra
so good.
The
It
part
is
where they're
so
in
good.
where they're in the elevator, and he turns to her and he says, "Close your eyes." It's like, oh, it's gonna get real right now.
Yeah.
So right after I'm glad you guys have all seen it, because
Some excellent performances.
Yeah, when Oscar Isaac and Christina Hendricks robbed that little store.
At the very beginning.
It's like halfway through.
Oh, is it later? Okay.
Oscar Isaac, he gets shot,
Okay.
and then him and Gosling and Christina Hendricks take off in his Mustang,
Yeah.
and they're being chased by that Chrysler 300 on the Pacific Coast Highway.
Yeah.
And there's a part in it where the Mustang turns around and he's going in reverse.
James Bond.
Man,
Well, actually, you got to give credit to Jim Rockford for that one. On the Rockford,
Rockford Files.
That's
No
right.
way.
he drove the.
Gardner?
He had the
James
Pontiac. He had the Pontiac Esprit, and they perfected what the Rockford turn or the J turn, where if he's driving and the bad guys block his way, he throws it in reverse, swings it around and shifts into drive in one movement. So give James Garner.
That was it. I didn't know that. I always heard that was a James Bond, but that's cool. We used to watch Rockford Files. And I used to think that was a Trans Am, but it's not.
It's a Pontiac Firebird Esprit.
Esprit.
Even though, because James Garner argued that that's what a private detective on his salary could afford, like the lower end Pontiac. But for filming purposes, they got a Firebird formula, but they cosmetically changed it to look like the Esprit. But yeah, and they went through like 73, 74, 75 versions. But speaking of which, I got to sit in James Garner's Pontiac
you're just
Esprit.
bragging. Once again, you're just bragging. It's
Pretty
fine.
awesome.
It's okay. It's why we come. But still.
And you knew this was the episode that was going to happen.
You knew.
Yeah.
I
did know it was
this
the episode.
was going to be the
That's
episode.
why I'm
where
so
it's like,
excited.
Yeah, go on.
oh, casually, by the way, you know,
Yeah,
I just have this
name
reference.
drop.
Morgan Freeman and I were just,
Yeah.
I was in the driving Miss Daisy car, too. I'm like, you were?
You haven't even brought the Batmobile up yet. I've got some stories there.
I have a theory that Ryan Gosling, his character in Drive, is the same character he plays in Blade Runner 2049.
Interesting.
Interesting.
They have very little dialogue the whole movie. They have the same kind of blank expressionless. You've seen it, right? 2049.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And both of the movies end on the beach in Los Angeles.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
There's a lot. I've come up with all these parts in both movies that, like, there are synchronicities. But anyway,
Wow.
You know, you got me thinking now. It's quite possible that after getting rejected by Emma Stone in La La Land could have created
Here we
that
go.
character
Here we go.
in Drive.
Now what's going to happen, we're going to go to Joe's basement with Andrew, and then we're going to see, like, a beautiful mind on there, and it's going to be all the little strings we connect them, like,
I got a
this is
cigarette.
He's got like 600 strings
Yeah.
and sticky notes.
This could be a problem.
but yeah, I wish I would have seen that in the theater, but I didn't.
Oh,
get to
I
see
did.
in
It
the
was thrilling. It was awesome.
theater. Early '70s Vanishing Point.
yeah.
Yeah, now
I
that's
haven't
like,
seen that.
we
What's
can call
that?
that the golden age. We're
Yeah.
talking Vanishing Point. Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry was one back then, where it was just all cars, just muscle cars from beginning to end, eluding police. That's from that original Gone in 60 Seconds
Yeah.
era. But Vanishing Point is hypnotic. It's just such a time capsule from that period.
Yeah, I told Joe this story, I think last week. My uncle at the time, he was my cool uncle, or is my cool uncle, who turned me on to really cool bands that I'd never heard of and movies and stuff. He let me borrow Vanishing Point about 20 years ago, and I watched it, and I'd never seen anything like it before. It takes place out in the desert, probably California, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a desert area. Yeah.
There's not. Remind me the disc jockey, the
Yeah,
DJ.
the DJ
So
is
there-
like narrating the
DJ
plot. Yeah.
And as they're like listening to the radio, there's a DJ, and it also shows like video of the DJ.
Yeah.
He's kind of narrating what's going on.
Isn't it a woman? I thought it was a woman, unless
Is it? I don't remember if it was.
Yeah, I think
I've
it
only
was a
seen
woman
it
DJ.
that one time. Remember the naked people on the horse?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really random, but it's so cool. It is so cool. I
Yeah.
highly recommend. We should watch it at your house.
Okay.
Now you did make the connection, didn't you? That the 1970 Challenger from Vanishing Point is the 1970 Challenger in Death Proof.
Oh,
It's
I
the
didn't know that.
It's not
Okay.
the actual same car, but it's Death Proof.
That's the
Use
homage.
the Challenger to pay homage to Vanishing Point.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And then I just have one more on that list, and it's Terminator 2, when Terminator and John Connor are on
Yes.
the motorcycle.
Yes.
Oh,
that
yeah.
that was,
Yeah,
Amazing.
the LA River, the concrete LA
Yeah.
River, and there's
which is
the,
also in Drive.
the big
Yep.
tow truck.
And he's
that's
and he's
chasing him
driving
and-
with one hand and reloading. Like, the way he flipped it around, I was like, only Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another race scene that was filmed on the LA River was Grease. When they
True,
when they
Grease.
had the Grease Lightning versus the Black Mercury, that was filmed on the LA River too. There's a lot of stuff. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
I think what was the movie? LA. Why am I drawing a blank? But there's this thrilling car chase in this LA movie. I'm drawing a blank. But that went on to the LA River too. But that scene was famous because they went against traffic on the LA freeway. So imagine traffic coming at the two cars involved in a chase, and they're going against traffic. I'll have to look that up. But George, what do you got? You want to bring anything to the table?
All right, mine are just bits and pieces. So I had a '69 Mach 1 with a 428 Cobra jet in high school that I fixed up. I won engine rebuild for the state of Utah way back when I was a gearhead.
Is that when
and
you,
that's why my company
is that
is
when
called,
you met Jamie?
That's when I met Jamie.
All right.
My company's called V8 Investment Advisors. That's my own personal investment advice. So I've never dropped that before, but cars had a huge influence on me. I still have a '73 Delta 88. You guys have seen that convertible.
I've seen it in parades, right?
You've seen it in parades. That's right. You've videotaped it in parades.
I had. I consider it a TV car.
It is a T. It is. That's right. It's like, as seen on TV. So, one of the things that really got me excited about cars was I was watching this movie with John Cusack.
Oh yeah.
And there's this car. Say, don't ruin it. His car's sitting on his front, and his dad said, he brings him in. He says, "Son, you borrowed $200 from me a year ago to buy this, quote, tasty car." And he said, "It sits in a cocoon on my driveway." And so John Cusack meets this beautiful young woman, which my sister actually met, and got her autograph. And she's a French
something. I'm trying to think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Now you're flexing. Go ahead. Fine. Yeah. And that's great. I love that you do that. And the French foreign exchange student happens to have worked in a garage, gets it all fixed up. And then I think it's Howlin' Wolf or something like, bow now. Out comes a '69 Camaro, black. Yeah. And this guy had always lost all these races. He had a POS, like Ford LTD station wagon or something that was just terrible. Wow. And when that came out, that was, to me, the ultimate leveler. Yeah. I was so impressed by that. And he just smokes the tires, and the back end is like speeding up faster than the front end. So it's fishtailing all the way up the road. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So not a year later, I'm out looking for something, and I don't want the exact same thing because everybody wanted a Camaro. I got that Mach 1 with the 428 Cobra jet in it, and I did just that.
Uh-huh.
I smoked the tires. I took out a girl.
Was there some Asian guys next to you talking like Howard Cosell?
No, but I imagined there were. But I took a girl out on a date. I mean, there's a lot of funny things about this, but I took a girl out on a date, and she seemed really cool. And we went to the four. This is in Utah. We went to a four corners where these roads, these major roads came together. And it's a big concrete area out in the middle of nowhere. And I said, "Watch this." And I pushed the gas, and I had the steering wheel, and we just went whap like that. And the car just went whap like that, and the back end of it just whipped around.
Yeah.
And she kind of bumped around inside and said, "Take me home." And that was the end of the date.
Oh.
And I don't blame her. But it was really cool. That was
Debbie Downer.
It was, and it was amazing. But she'll never forget that. But anyway, that was really cool. So that's number one. The other
movie, for listeners, that movie was Better Off Dead.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Better
John
Off
Cusack,
Dead.
And a friend of mine who owns a fleet of cars, about a year or so ago, he bought an exact replica of that car. It's in his fleet.
I would kill for that car. I really would.
Red interior, black exterior.
Oh, it's such a beautiful car. Then the second movie that I really love, it's not quite a car chase, but it'll make you laugh till you cry, is Raising Arizona. Flying down the road, and he's got his hand out the road to pick up the baby carrier, and he grabs it, and then they put it up on top of the car, and then they cruise. And then they realize that the baby ain't on top anymore. They have to flip around and come back.
That was John Goodman, and I don't
remember the other guy,
actor,
but John Goodman was fantastic in that. And then there's the guy on the motorcycle that's chasing them, hell or
like
Hades
Bigfoot.
or something. Yeah. Those are a couple of my favorite ones.
Yeah, there's one, the one that I have just kind of handwritten on my list here. It was kind of an afterthought, but again, when you break it down to percentages, this movie is probably about 95% car chase. I remember seeing this movie at the drive-in, but it couldn't have been the year that it came out because it came out in '63. I was born in '66, so there must have been like a early '70s re-release. But it was called A Mad World.
I was gonna say that too.
And it is full of cars, full of the biggest names in comedy at the time.
Oh my gosh!
Think about this: Jonathan Winters,
Jonathan
Mickey
Winters,
Rooney, Sid Caesar, Milton Berle.
Whoa.
It's just, and the Three Stooges make an appearance in it. Buster Keaton, I think, has a cameo appearance. It's easily one of the greatest car chase movies of all time. And then Spencer Tracy plays the police officer, kind of tracking all the events, which leads them to some buried treasure.
I forgot. I was going to mention that. That's a great one.
But yeah, that's
There's
all.
$250,000.
Peter Falk is in it. It's incredible, incredible cast, incredible.
What I love about that is that it's almost like cancer. Somebody says it to somebody else, and then that person says it to somebody else, and pretty soon, everybody's doing crazy things because they got to get there first.
Everyone wants their share of the treasure. Yeah,
exactly. I love it.
Yeah, that's a great one, and I remember seeing that at the drive-in. That's a really fond memory of watching that movie at the drive-in. That was pretty cool. There's so much more we could have talked about. I briefly mentioned Batman. The '89 Batman when they unveiled that Batmobile with the flame exhaust, which was an homage to the TV Batmobile, which had the flame exhaust. That was such a cool. I love the line where he says, "Get in the car." She goes, "Which one?" And then there's the reveal, the Batmobile sitting out there. That one, But that was a great moment. And
the Bond one, where the most recent Bond one, I think maybe I don't remember if it's Casino Royale or the second one. They're up in a city in Italy, and it's these very, very narrow streets, and it's got the Aston Martin in it.
Yeah.
And they get cornered, and the guy comes over with the gun.
Yeah.
And he's shooting at the bulletproof glass.
Yeah,
and the woman's screaming like, "Ah!" And
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig is
is just sitting there coolly because he knows what's underneath the hood.
Yeah.
And then he goes, and he just flips around, and there's these guns, and you're like, how is he going to get out of this?
Oh yeah, that was Inspector.
That is such an awesome. And he takes off. I just fell in love with that.
There was
and
a
then
moment
when they brought it back, when Q, the younger version of Q, brings that back, I'm just like, it's come back. It's like when I saw Spock come back to life. It's the same thing.
Well, there's that moment, and I don't know if this is the moment you're talking about, but in Skyfall, when Bond and M are on foot, Dame Judi Dench, and they're on foot, like they're exposed.
Yes.
And they go up to this nondescript barn or garage. Again, the hairs on my arm are going
sticking up. Yeah.
They open the door.
Yeah.
You see the Aston Martin DB5, and you hear the music. Dun, 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 dun,
oh,
dun.
I know. And it's like,
and what's cool about that is in Casino Royale and the movies preceding Skyfall, they made a point of saying this is not your father's James Bond. This is a new era. But then they realized, okay, this is what got us to this point. And so they did that reveal for fans.
There's not a guy in the audience that doesn't feel something for that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's such a cool car.
But I like how they wove into the story because the villain was into tech. That car has no tech on it that they can trace.
Yeah.
So that's where you can drive. And I like the fact that he pulls up the switch and she goes, "Go ahead. Oh, eject me. See if I care."
Yeah. He's eyeballing that red button.
He's
looking at the red button, and she's like, "Yeah, just try it.
Eject me and see if I care." It's like, man, Judi Dench gave 0 Fs.
Oh, what a cool moment. And a movie I need to throw out, and again, this could be a whole completely different podcast, but I owe a lot to the Fast and Furious movies. They kind of revived the car chase movie in 2001, even though I think you made a point of saying that Nicolas Cage did the remake of Gone in 60 Seconds in 2000, so that might actually be the start of the revival of car chase movies. But Fast and Furious comes out in 2001. It starts out by kind of showing the underground street racing circuit in Southern California, made up of all sorts of ethnicities and stuff, and everybody embraced it.
Love that. I think it's so cool.
It became a multi-billion-dollar franchise because it speaks to everybody. Now, yes, they have gotten sillier over time.
Yeah.
These street racers now operate computers and
Joe, the car in space.
The Fiero, as a matter of fact. They launch it into space. And I got to say, I love the movies. I look forward to them. I actually sat in the orange Supra, driven by Paul Walker, from the first movie. It was the stunt car that was involved when he's racing Dom in the black Charger, and then the train, they're trying to beat the train. I sat in that car, and it later got auctioned off at Barrett Jackson for, I think, like $500,000 or something. But
This is the closest to like Joe being Lorne Michaels, who has a story for everything. I was in the Batmobile. I picked up John Malkovich and Boutros Ghali from E1 while we were cruising. I'm like, what?
What are you talking about?
What are these stories? Like,
What was Paul Walker in when he passed away?
7.
Well, he
That
finished,
was number 7.
He
The
died
7th during the film.
during the filming of 7, so they had to use his brother and some face remapping technology and stuff. So, but yeah, he was up until episode 7, and it was kind of sad. As a matter of fact, I saw Fast and Furious 7 when I was in L.A. I saw it at Grauman's Chinese Theater, and it was kind of cool because there were some chase scenes in L.A. right outside the theater that I was sitting
Oh,
at.
how cool is that?
And after seeing the movie, I went to the Paul Walker crash site.
No.
And everyone was standing around. We were passing a Sharpie around to leave messages on the curb. There were crosses and little chains and stuff hanging from the nearby trees. It was pretty somber. And I also went to the house, the Fast and Furious house that the gang always seems to come back to in every film, and was blown up in one of the films.
I saw that in theater. At the end, when they did that little driveway and Walker takes that exit off there, you could visibly hear people sobbing in the theater.
Yeah. Yeah,
Say
that was
what?
Yeah.
So
that
at
was
the
weird. I mean,
at
look,
the end of
it's tragic,
7,
but
It is tragic. I never thought it would.
there's an aerial shot where they're lined up. Paul Walker's in a angelic white Supra. Dom pulls up next to him, and then as they take off, there's an aerial shot where they go their separate ways, and I was sobbing. I was sobbing.
Really?
And then they did sort of a montage at the
Yeah.
end, looking back at the previous movies.
It's
and-
not like Grease where
Ooh.
John Travolta. And,
No,
No,
that-
it didn't go up into the air there. But,
Olivia
but
still
yeah,
tripped me out.
yeah, grown men were sobbing in that theater.
Oh no,
Right.
mine, because I guess there was a younger crowd. Just tons of people who had say 25 and under. Just
Really?
they're cradling their girlfriends with guys like cradling. I mean, it's weird. It was. I was like, wow, you guys are. I mean, I guess this really spoke to this is their generation's muscle car stuff because they grew up.
Oh
with
yeah,
it.
yeah, definitely. Gosh, we spent a lot of time on this. We don't have a whole lot of time for road trip movies. I'll throw out a couple. We'll go around the table real quick. For me, number 1 on that list is Vacation, with the family truckster, the Wagon Queen family
Absolutely.
truckster.
That's a great one.
Every family can relate going on that cross country road trip. I remember my family went from Michigan to Florida to go to Disney World. We didn't have any cool cars or anything like that, but Vacation, I think, spoke to a lot of people. One of my other favorite road trip movies is Tommy Boy, with Chris Farley and David Spade trying to sell auto parts. I saw an interview with David Spade. He's like, how do you pitch that movie? We're 2 guys selling auto parts, and let's green light it. And Lorne Michaels, who produced the film, was like, do what I see you guys doing, like always needling each other and making fun of each other. Do that for 90 minutes.
There's so many good one-liners like
Oh,
that, like
man.
the big guy and
a little coat.
Fat guy and a little
coat. And like, have you seen where the gym is? All that. There's just so many great lines.
Do I have a mark on my face? Because it really hurts here. Not
The
so
part where he
much.
takes a bag of, I think it's M&Ms, and he sets it on the front, and all of them go down into the thing. I'm
Yeah.
like,
That'll,
no! And they
that'll
just destroy
up the
that
resale
cart.
value.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. Another one that comes to mind, of course, is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yep.
That's such a great one. John Candy and Steve Martin trying to get back home. Absolute classic. The car that they have, which I think is a Chrysler LeBaron or something, by the time, near the end of the movie, it's charred and everything's missing. The dashboard's melted. And, what a great road trip movie. Nick, you got any road trip movies you want to throw out?
I mean, I had mentioned Lord of the Rings, but I guess we're doing, road trip. I actually liked Rat Race. It was
It was like a
Rat
1990s
Race.
Plymouth Sauron, right? Is that was in that?
Plymouth Sauron. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's like a second age model, but it was no. But I loved Rat Race. It was a very underrated movie. It had John Lovitz in it. It had a great cast, and I loved the premise of it.
It was so
John Cleese being
crazy.
this crazy
John Cleese is great. Where they're betting on the guys
Yeah.
hanging from the
Yeah,
ceiling.
whatever they could do, and it's a fantastic. I love that movie, And the other one was I actually picked. I mean, there's Thelma and Louise, but what I picked was Road Trip. There was an actual movie. That was another comedy.
Yeah.
That was done at the time, and so no. But Rat Race, I could watch that movie all the time. You know, it's no.
The one scene that I think the correct term here would be scarred me was when the daughter has to use the bathroom and the father's like,
No,
I am
that's-
not stopping. I'm like,
And
"You
she
gotta
puts her
be-"
bum out the window.
Yeah.
That's not cool. I thought that was on
That's
vacation. It was not on vacation.
No,
No, that was
Rat-
Rat Race.
and
That's
Ja-
a,
because
that's
Ja-
a. It's from a distance, but that is scarring.
That's
I don't know
I'm
how they
like,
got her to do
I mean,
that.
I guess they
Oh.
tried to. Well, did they ever show her butt in that? I don't know.
I don't think so, but they imply
yeah.
what
She's like,
she
I hate
did.
you.
And
I
then
hate
I
you.
think it hit a cop car, another
Because
car.
she
or
crapped on
something.
it because and then
Yeah.
he's trying to like, what's wrong?
No,
And then,
I-
and then
that-
they steal Hitler's
yeah.
car, apparently, or
yeah,
Klaus
yeah.
Barbie's car.
Ugh, you're bringing back bad
It's
memories.
gross. Yeah, I know.
Back
it
to
is.
therapy for me. Andrew, road trip movies.
Yeah, I got quite a few. Little Miss Sunshine.
Yes.
Love it.
Excellent.
VW bus, yellow, bright yellow.
So
I
good.
did
Love
not
it.
like that movie at all.
Really?
Did not like it at all.
George,
Not
get
like
the
that.
hell out. No. It was the first time anyone saw Steve Carell play against type.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, he plays the uncle who's like suicidal.
And Alan Arkin is just
Alan Arkin.
He's so
yeah.
great in everything he does.
That was the first time.
It's fantastic, and so was what's his name?
Greg Kinnear.
Greg Kinnear. Thank
Yep,
you.
Greg
Yeah,
Kinnear.
I really love both of those actors and was really hoping for more out of it,
Yeah.
but I did not like the ending. I did not like the dynamic. But anyway.
And then that's the first time I'd seen Paul Dano. He plays the
Yeah.
son.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't talk or whatever, and he
Yeah,
finds
yeah.
out that he can't be a pilot because he's colorblind. I love that movie. I took this German film class at OU, and the final project was I had to watch a movie that was a foreign film but not a German film. So my buddy that I took it with, his name's Derek, we watched this Japanese film called Kikujiro. And it's about this little kid who is on a mission to find his mom. And I don't remember exactly how it starts. Like, why is this little kid allowed to go across the island to try to find his mom? But his neighbor, this older guy, like, goes with him and tries to teach him things along the way. Great road movie. They come across some, characters, like all good road movies.
You got me, man. I'm like the expert on this stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're
I
talking
hope
about.
all of you guys have seen this, and if not, you need to watch it. Jean Favreau's Chef.
Yes. In the food truck.
I have not seen that. That
Is it
sounds
a-
interesting.
The road trip movie?
Yes, and it is a feel-good movie. Joe, I can actually tell you to watch a feel-good movie.
All right. Okay.
Not my usual weird sci-fi scary movies.
Yeah, it's not like we're asking you to watch Logan.
Yeah, but you can
Yeah.
vouch for me. It is so good.
Okay.
It's a good father-son movie. It's got it's John,
Chef.
John Favreau. It was in between him making probably like
Iron Man.
Iron Man
one
2 or something.
One
Yeah,
and two,
yeah.
I think.
And it was a movie you could tell he did just for himself
Yeah.
and his friends and his family. It had a small budget, I think, of like 10 or 15 million.
Yeah.
John Leguizamo's in it.
Yeah.
I think Scarlett Johansson has a small role in it.
Mm.
Anyway,
Okay.
it's got to be on Netflix. A Wes Anderson movie, The Darjeeling Limited.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah, yeah.
Love that. The girl in that, the Indian girl,
Oh
Yeah.
smoking.
yeah.
That's like a train thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of a road trip thing.
Yeah.
They're trying to find their mom, and
And it's both of the brothers. It's Owen and Luke,
no, it's Owen Wilson,
And
isn't it? I thought
Jason
It
Schwartzman, and Adrian Brody. Those three.
was, I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then their mom is Angelica Houston that they find at the monastery or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
She's
yeah.
Zombieland,
Yeah,
which
that's a good one.
that's a road. Yeah.
Big Hummer H3
yeah.
or H2,
Yeah,
whatever.
Woody
it was.
See it?
Allen.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't remember if I've seen it.
There's some great cars. He
Woody-
would paint a 3 on every car in honor of Dale
Yeah.
Earnhardt.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woody
I
I
Yeah,
have
Je-
not seen that.
Jesse
no.
Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Emma Stone,
Oh,
Okay.
it's great.
the girl from
Little
Bill
Miss
Murray.
Sunshine.
Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah,
What's her
yeah.
name?
Abigail
Abigail
Breslin.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Breslin.
Really funny. It's a road trip movie, horror comedy.
Yeah, yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the sequel is not as good, but still really definitely worth watching.
Yeah.
One of the funniest parts in that Zombieland movie is the Bill Murray part.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bill
that's the
Murray's in it
highlight.
randomly
Yeah.
And Bill Murray
as
plays
himself.
Yeah, it was great.
Paris, Texas, from '84.
No.
I've seen it, but I don't remember it.
So Harry Dean Stanton.
Oh, cool.
So
One of my
he
favorite actors.
yes,
He does so much.
completely underrated. great actor. Actually, a friend of the show, Robert, told me about this movie, and I watched it about 2 months ago. It was excellent, great. The ending, or like 2/3, the third act, like completely. I don't want to say confuses you, but it's like, wow, I was not expecting this movie to go in this direction.
Yeah,
but excellent drama. I don't know if this is technically a road movie, but Cars. You know, the animated.
Yeah,
no, it's
sure.
He's on his way
beautiful
to
homage to Route 66. And,
right.
Yeah.
I love that movie
I do
so
too.
much.
I do too.
I'm
It's a
glad you
great
brought
movie.
that up. Yeah,
I'm
that's-
not, you know
love
me,
it.
I'm not big into like animated films, but that movie has a special place in my heart.
I agree.
And then, of course, one of my favorites of all time, Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Ah,
Yes, I love.
that's- yeah.
First one's fantastic.
I wish
absolutely.
I could make a movie just like that.
One second here, go ahead.
George, you got any road trip movies? We're just about out of time. Throw some.
Yeah, I'll just
titles
throw a couple of titles out. Bolt, I love, is a kind of and it's also an animated movie.
Yeah.
Really great, really fun.
Mm.
There's a few other ones, but we don't have time for it, so I'll let you go.
I want to
Would
end.
Toy Story 2 kind of a road trip to go save Woody and then come back?
Kind of. I mean, it's a rescue mission. So
Is it? Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
All right.
I don't know, but you know, we keep talking about percentages of cars in movies, car chase scenes. I want to just throw out as we wrap up: 100% car chase, Cannonball Run. I touched on it earlier, but it is nothing but car chases. And what's cool about it is they have Roger Moore in it driving an Aston Martin DB5. He's not. They never say James Bond. He introduces himself as Roger Moore. But after that movie was released, the Broccolis, who own the Bond franchise, they kind of pulled Roger Moore aside and said, "Never again. You do that again, we're taking you to court."
Ew.
So yeah, they had no sense of humor about Roger Moore driving a DB5 in Cannonball Run.
I mean, when
but-
you got a last name Broccoli, you know you've taken your shots. That's probably just years of scar tissue.
Now, of course, that movie is based on the annual real life event where they drive
Yeah.
from like Boston to California. And one year when I was in California, I went to I loved going to Redondo Beach. And near Redondo Beach is the Portofino Inn. And not only does the real Cannonball Run end at the Portofino Inn on the ocean, but that's where they filmed the finish line in the movie. So it was kind of cool to visit that as a film location, knowing that all of those stars, Burt Reynolds, Farrah Fawcett, Dom DeLuise, all of them celebrated the end of the Cannonball Run.
The Sure Thing. Did you guys ever see that?
No.
I know of it. I can't remember the last time I watched it.
Yeah, it's been a long time. That was an
Yeah.
important one for me. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of other ones that we could go through, but I don't think anybody's ever seen them.
Yeah, yeah. All right, guys, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that.
Super fun.
Yes.
And with that, we are going to wrap up, and we will see you in a couple of weeks on Hollywood Blockbusters.
Come to the movies, watch Charlie Chaplin, and put some sunshine into your day. Forget the hard times, come to the movies, and try to laugh your troubles away.